Hey, everybody. This is the first episode of You're Getting on My Nerves with Sophie and Angie. Sophie?
Hi, Angie. Thank you for that great intro. And it's great we can finally talk and discuss and really share our vision for the nonprofit. But we thought we might just give a background into ourselves and the nonprofit before we kickstart. So I'm Sophie Ward. I am based in Lancashire, which is north of England. I suffer with Lyme disease and I was infected at 14 and I'm now 29 going on 30. A bit scary. Getting older. But yes, I've had Lyme and battled with it. I didn't get diagnosed till I was 23. So I'm kind of newish to the Lyme world, but I've sort of dedicated my life to raising awareness and really just educating myself more on the disease because I didn't know much about it.
There's so much to know about it. So I'm Angie Sudduth Walsh, and I'm trying to remember how fabulous Sophie just did her introduction. So I was sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking, what am I going to say? So I've had Lyme disease and co-infections for a very long time. I was misdiagnosed for 16 years. And in December 2013, I was finally diagnosed. And by that time, it was late stage neurological Lyme and co-infections with Lyme disease. Bartonella and Babesia were my tag-alongs. And so I've been like Sophie. We met in 2019 where I was just approaching people that I found inspiring. And I just would say, hey, would you want to be interviewed by me? And so Sophie agreed because she'd written a book and we hit it off. Like we became fast friends and we would support each other in podcasting and interviews and whatever. And I introduced her to others and helped her get more out, with like her manager. But we said back then that we wanted to do something for the Lyme community because and it's not just Lyme, it's all chronic illnesses. Nerve of Mind is for all chronic illnesses. And it's from a parasitic and neurological base, which is where everything begins, from what we've learned to this point. But we want to help people because so much of Lyme disease and other diseases are out of pocket. And you can go through your life savings very quickly, as I know. So with everything costing so much money, especially if you do like Eastern medicine treatment where it's natural and holistic and all of that, it costs so much and patients just don't have the money. So that's our basis of doing this. I don't know if I want to say my age and all of that.
No, that's fine.
I don't care. I'm 52 and proud of it. So
you don't look 52, that's for sure.
Well, you're so sweet. I was hoping could pull off that I was 30.
I wish I could pull off that I still look 21.
I think you don't look your age either. Is one thing that I say about Lyme disease. I think it preserves us. I used to say I thought it was like we'd been bitten by a vampire and we were preserved with our looks and everything. But on the inside, it's a totally different story. So with this podcast, we want to do a lot of different topics that go along with chronic illness and suffering and just things that people don't really know about because we don't always talk about that kind of stuff. We keep it on the DL and we want to present that we look okay and that we're okay when in reality we're not.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we do a lot on social media and post daily, Monday to Friday. So we want to really expand on the knowledge that we put on those platforms because we use our social media as an educational and support hub as well. So we thought we'd have the podcast alongside it because a lot of people don't like to read content. They'd rather listen to it. So we're trying to make sure that we've got everything for all of our audience to enjoy. And yeah, we're excited about exploring where this podcast could go. And I'm sure that me and Angie will just bounce off each other laugh too much, but even on serious topics sometimes.
True. Can't help it. We just have that's how we are. We're giggly girls at times.
Yeah. Once we get the giggles, that's it. We've had it.
Yep, it's true. So if you aren't following us yet on social media, you can find us on Instagram at Nerve of Mind, and we have like a underscore in the different places. If you can't find us, you can always look for Sophie Ward or Angie Sudduth Walsh. We have Nerve of Mind on our pages. We're on Facebook as well. So be sure to like and follow us and check out our content, because we post everything from, neurological diseases and symptoms and different things that go on to like learning about what you need daily with your vitamins and your minerals and your diet and how to detox, and just even going in deeper of the whole anatomy of the body and how it all works together. And like that connection is how, when you lose your health, then you've got to put those pieces of that puzzle back together. And it can take years, because it didn't take you didn't get sick overnight. It took you years. So we're excited. I get excited when I post the stuff, because a lot of things I know, but then I expand on that knowledge even more to learn even more. And so I want people to, you become your own advocate and you become your own researcher. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think we're obviously excited because hopefully our listeners will also support us and get behind fundraisers and host their own fundraisers, because we will have a grant scheme in place once the funds start being raised, where we can give grants to sufferers for testing, treatments, surgeries, and that will go through an application system. So we're really, really excited to help as many people as we can. But we do know that we're only 2 people, and it does take a community of people to really back us. And it's fun to do fundraisers from time to time. There's so many creative ideas that you can get behind and do, even if they're online, offline, whatever your illness, there's always something you can do. So it's going to be great fun to, as we grow, see you guys also sort of get behind the charity and sort of personalize it in your own way, with the way that you carry out your fundraisers, to wearing our merch and enjoying our content on a daily basis.
Yes. I was sitting here listening to you. You sound so eloquent. And now I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
I don't sound eloquent. James just calls me Walsh. No, I do try and speak properly, but I probably don't ace it as well as I should.
I think you do quite well. And I have to tell you that in all of these months where we've been communicating every day, I've been wanting to pick up the British accent, and I can hear it sometimes in my voice. That's good. You're picking up little bits. I am. And so when it's really funny though, when when she's upset about something, like something's bothering her, she'll start going off on spin and using some British slang. And I'm like, oh, I love that, because I'm like, ooh, I'm picking up some stuff.
An odd slogan. Please, instead of swearing.
True.
Oh, please.
Yes. Well, I've said some things to you and you're like, that's funny. Because I'll say son of a nutcracker, instead of saying a curse word. So I don't know. I say a lot of things that, and can be, because I have Southern roots, that's one thing I didn't say. I'm in the United States. I'm in Florida, and my mom's side of the family is Southern. And so I grew up with Southern speaking grandparents and ways of living. And so that twang comes out sometimes. If I get around someone that has a Southern accent, then I pick it up. So, but I like British accent too.
Well, it's weird because whenever me and James travel to America, everyone comes up to us asking if we're Australian. And I'm like, do we sound Australian? I don't think we sound Australian.
No, but I mean, it is very similar. The Australians seem to do their A's a little differently, but you guys kind of do the same thing. And they say mate a lot. You guys don't really say mate as much as they do.
Oh dear. It might, like, I think I've called James mate once. He turned around and went, "Why the heck are you calling me that?"
He thinks
Just
it.
out the he's like, "You what?"
So maybe we should tell everyone who James is.
So James is my long-suffering fiance and husband to be. Bless him. He puts up with a lot, but it's kind of two-way. I put up a lot with him as well.
It's usually how it is. he
Yeah.
sounds he sounds like a great guy. Like you've landed a great catch. So
Yeah,
very
no, he's very understanding. And the one thing I said when we got together, I was like, I didn't think I'd ever be with someone because my health was too much and I didn't want to be a burden, and it wasn't cool because I can't go out, and like he loves a night out, whereas like I'm like, that's not for me. But he's always been really accepting, and I've never stopped him doing what he wanted to do. So he still goes on his lads' nights, he still does like bits and pieces he wants to do, and I'm never going to stop him doing that. And it's almost a free night for me as well. I end up just staying in with the dog. But like any couple, we do have our like niggles. So when he doesn't tidy up after himself, when he cooks in the kitchen and then it's like a bomb site, like that does my nut in. So it kind of swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, it all equals out. I mean, that's just, I can just tell you, that's just living with the man.
Like obviously when we first had the conversation about health, he was like, I could get cancer tomorrow, or I could have a stroke tomorrow and be like paralyzed. Like just because I'm fine now, it doesn't mean like further down the line I won't have something. So I can't hold it against you for having something now, because like that's not fair. You've like, if you're a couple, you're a team and you've got to support each other. So yeah, so like I couldn't have asked someone more mature in that sense, because he was very compassionate and mature for his age.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you from people that are my age, men that are my age are not that mature, because, that's one of the first things that I will say to someone. And I haven't dated in over 3 years because I just haven't. I don't know. It was just, it's about attracting the right person to you. And you point where you know what you deserve and what you're worth. And when you keep having these people come up, that you're just like, no, I'm not going to settle, and if the health thing is an issue, then go on your way. Because just like James said, that person could, I even had someone reject me for their health because they had gotten through cancer and they were they were in remission with it. And
right.
When I told them what I had been through with Lyme disease and stuff, they said that they just didn't think that it could work with us both having something that big on the plate. I don't feel that way. I feel like, because like, again, just like James said, you could get with someone that was perfectly healthy and then they have a stroke or a car accident or anything could happen, and it would put them in the same place you are or worse. And you would love them. So you would support them and help them or whatever. But most people, I can tell you in my experience, most people they're not equipped for it. They're just not.
Like we live, sadly, in a society where it's focused on like your outer shell, like what you bring to the tables, and like going out all the time, like drinking, like socializing, like having like high careers and like roles within whatever business you're working in. And so like people with illness who can't like achieve those high expectations are like ultimately just like sort of passed on, and they're just treated as like almost like dirt off the floor sometimes. So obviously I met James when he was 26, so I thought like there's no chance a 26-year-old is gonna accept me for me, because he's looking at like Instagram models who are like got the killer bodies and like jetting off everywhere and traveling and doing this and in the clubs on Saturday night.
Really? Because like, that's what I want to talk about one of these episodes too, is that on this podcast, you guys will always, you may see us sometimes where we have no makeup on and our hair is like, I mean, okay, I could go real here and show you guys that I have not had my hair done since January. And that's why I'm wearing my hat, because I've got my roots and I got different colors going, but you don't know that because I'm presenting to you like I'm just a cool chick in a hat. But there's there's so much on the internet today, because that's when my mom was like, well, don't you look cute today? And I'm like, yeah, cute, fake internet cute. Because like, I'm not feeling it. I haven't had my hair done, like, you know. And Sophie's lucky. Can I say this about James with your hair?
Yes, go on. He'll love you for it.
So this is how lucky this woman is. This man loves her so much, he will color her hair at home. I mean, you have someone that's like out of Africa love, where Robert Redford washed Meryl Streep's hair. Like, to have a man color your hair and it looks great. Look at her hair. He just had it done the other day by James.
I know, it's so funny though, because like obviously you get the gloves back and he's like, oh, I can't be bothered with these gloves. And then he complains after because all of his fingers have gone white because of the dye. Like, well, that wouldn't have happened. He's like, I've got to go to football now and everyone's going to question why. And I was like, well, if you wore the gloves and followed the instructions, you'd be fine. But you're above the instructions. So there you go.
And you use you use a non...
It's called Nutritin. I have to get it from Germany, but it's all like herbal, because like I've been a blonde since I was 14. I am very dark normally, and I just can't go back dark. I just need to be blonde. But it was getting to the point when I was getting like 24, 25, where I just could not sit in that chair and have like bleach put on my head, because I'd have days afterwards. It would be burning as soon as they put it on. I felt groggy as well for ages. So I was like, I need to find an alternative, but obviously they don't put it in salons here because it's like just natural and whatever. They have their reps for like L'Oreal and Wella and like the bigger brands that go into the and sell them the product. So I was like, I'm gonna have to do it at home. And obviously during COVID, my mum did it for me, so it wasn't too bad. But when I moved in with James, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not coming around just to do your hair. So James had to fill that void and learn quickly.
I think it's awesome. Like, that just shows you how much that man loves you, because I don't know many men that would do that. Some would just be scared to do it because they think they were going to mess it up. But he's a man. He's not even using gloves. I mean, come on.
He probably thinks if it goes wrong, it's not on my head.
Right?
And just laugh at me. Mind you, he has his own hair problems because obviously he's losing his, and that's an upsetting topic for him. So I think he'll do anything for hair when it comes to that.
That is one thing with, we can talk on that at one time too, because I don't know about you, but when I was on like the harsh Lyme treatment, I lost about 75% of my hair, and I don't have like a lot of hair, or I don't have thick hair. I have a lot of hair. So when I lost it, like me having a braid like this, I could barely get, you could tell it was shorter and it was just like thinner. So I understand men with them losing their hair and losing it at like such a young age, in their 20s. Because even my son, he's got some receding going on.
Yeah, like James is very self-conscious about it. But again, that kind of, it makes me feel a bit better, because I'm like, I've got my own insecurities, but everyone has. Like, yes. I don't see it in James because I'm just like I know you as you, and you're my handsome fiance, and I love you for you, and it doesn't take away from your personality. But to him, like, he's always looking in the mirror like, it's getting bigger, my spot's getting bigger, like it's growing. And I'm like, it's not, like, it's seriously not. And he's like, yes, it is. So he wants to get a transplant and have it sorted before we get married. So that's his goal. And then he's like, I'm going to grow a man bun. And I was like, I'll be dyeing your hair then. By the sounds of it, you've got a man bun.
Please tell him. And I have nothing against man buns, but I just I don't think James could pull it off.
Oh, I hate them. He just wants to do it because he hasn't had hair for so long that he just wants to grow it just because he can, and then obviously cut it and have it as he wants it.
Right. Yeah. Guys like their hair just like we do, and then there's some people just pull it up and go, or, some guys shave it off and they've got a head of hair. I mean, just as.
Well, I found it hard because I hadn't had long hair, but I always had shoulder length hair. And then I was modeling when I was sort of 18 to 20. Well, that's when I started getting quite poorly with Lyme disease, and they cut it into a pixie cut, and it just did not grow. And then when it grew to here, just below my ears, it was just so thin because you were saying, it just fell out all the time. As soon as I brushed it, a massive chunk would fall out. And that time in my life, I just felt so low because I just felt like I didn't like the look. I feel like your hair just shapes your face. So I do get coming from with the fact that he's so conscious of him losing his hair and everything, because it does sort of become not your full identity, but you do your hair as you like to style it, and it does become part of an accessory to everything else.
I will say, because I've always been my hair was white blonde growing up. And so just me and my brother, we were basically towheads, and I had that color hair until I got sick and was put on. Do you know what towheads mean? My mom has a cousin in her family that on her, I think it's my grandfather's side, that's albino. And so that our hair was white growing up. And so mine didn't change until after I contracted Lyme, and it had been a few years, and the doctors had me on so many medications, it turned dark. So this color that's in up here is a darker color, but then I swear that blonder hair you've seen in me without my hat, but this hat, not this one, I have one and put away. This is a newer one, but this is a hat that I wore because it was sparkly, and so it still made me feel good, even though my hair was falling out and stuff. But I would wear it because I didn't have enough hair to do anything with. And I also had a big bald spot up here, and then I had one here. And because the hair, these strands that were here, my hair would come out. I could hair and my hair would come out. You get to where you don't want to wash your hair because you're afraid, and then your eye.
Because I didn't even want to run the brush through it. So my mum would go, you've got knots everywhere and you can see them. And I'm like, but if it'll just fall out. Right.
So in a sense, that's what cancer patients go through when they have chemo and start their chemo and radiation. They lose their hair. Lyme disease is the same way. And even when you're not doing that harsh treatment, the harsh treatment is what with Lyme disease is similar to chemo and radiation because of, especially I had a PICC line. I don't know if you had a PICC line. Did you have a PICC line?
No.
So I was getting meds intravenously as well as taking them. And it was just, it's so hard on your body. All of it. So your hair, your hair is going to, and I got to say that I used to think, I even said this when I was your age, Sophie, when I was in my 20s, I'm if I ever lose my hair, I may have been a little younger, but I was just in that vain mode, if I ever lose my hair, I don't know what I would do, such a kind of thing to say. And then when I did, I realized that the most important thing wasn't my hair. It was beating this disease and staying alive, not it just, for my children and to show others that you could get through it.
Yeah, I was a bit like that with my weight because I lost a lot of weight when I first got diagnosed with Lyme. I think, again, like you said, the treatments they put you on is very hard, and the food intolerances that I had were just that intense that I literally had like 3-4 foods that were safe and not irritating me at the time. And I lost so much weight. And that for me was so difficult because I had people calling me anorexic, saying that I had like some sort of eating disorder, and that's why I could only eat like 4 or 5 foods. And like, obviously I was so used to being a strong swimmer that has like muscles and like was toned, and I'd gone from like 8 stone to like 6 stone in quite a short period of time. And that really knocked my confidence. And I don't know like how I did it, but my dad's obviously got his business, and we always used to have to go to conference every year. And every time it's like a 4-day conference, we'd have to go out, see people, and I'd just be like thrown like judgments left, right, and center. And but I'd be crying like behind the hotel door before leaving the room, because I was like, these business owners just don't mix their words. Like, there's no filter. They will literally just tell it you straight. But I took everything personally. And I think it kind of sort of brought me out my shell a little bit, because I had to kind of show my personality and really like speak up for myself and show me like deep down. Like, I didn't have like a shell to hide behind almost. And I realized that like, it doesn't matter what your outer shell says, it's what's like inside and who you are as a person, and like what you're willing to put into life and do to make life your own. And that, yeah, you're not just an image on a board, and that's what defines you. And I think that was a bit like you with your hair, like that was my defining moment of like, I'm more than my appearance.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, if that's one thing that will strip you down quicker than anything, is to have a life-threatening illness come at you full force. I mean, everything just smacks you in the face, and you totally realize, between a want and a need, between your appearance and like what kind of person you are, you're going to pull yourself through this by your strength and by your faith. And just I lost a lot of weight too, and I couldn't gain it back. And I got down to, I'm 5'7", so I got down to 99 pounds. And there was times where I was going through some pictures and stuff, and I told my mom, like, who is this? Because it was like from the side.
Yeah.
But Sophie, I was so thin. Like, and that's 2015. That was my year of death, I call it, because I was dying, and there was so many close calls that year. And she was like, that's you. I'm like, that's me? I didn't even recognize that was me, because that person was a skeleton. So, I mean, we are very blessed to still be here and to be able to share our knowledge and everything, with people.
And also, like, I don't think you fully kind of get your head around everything that you've been through until you take that time to reflect and see like how your weight was just nothing was there of you, and you literally just looked skin and bones to like where you are now. And also like every single treatment, testing, stay in hospital, everything that you've been through, like we just get through it at the time. And once you've conquered it, you think, right, I've done that now. It wasn't great, but I've done it. On to the next treatment, on to the next test. We don't actually time to actually sit here and think, oh my God, like anything could have gone wrong here. I may not have come out of hospital. I may not have like take that IV that I thought that I would be fine with anyway. Like, you just don't know how your body's going to react. And it's only when you sit down with yourself, like maybe sometimes even years after, that you think, oh my gosh, like it's been a journey.
Well, I will say this, like with you saying all that, you triggered some memories with me, because I lost 30-year friendships, and I lost because these people couldn't handle it, and I couldn't understand it at the time. I was engaged at the time. There was a lot of things going on, but like when you are skin and bones, you're dying, you're fighting for your life. You're not seeing yourself as other people are seeing you. You're still like, I'm still the same person. Yes, I'm fighting, I'm going through this battle, but people get scared. And so like when you back, and like I was telling my mom the other day, like my dad, he he was so protective. Okay. So, I didn't know why. Like, he didn't want me going out by myself and stuff, and I'd be like, I'm fine. I can do it. I can do it. I'm 99 pounds. And in his mind, he's thinking someone could come up and grab me or, rob me or whatever. And I wouldn't be able to fight back. I had crouched down in the garage one day with my bag, like my beach tote. And that bag pulled me back to the ground, because I stooped down, and the bag was heavier than me. I'm not saying the bag was 99 pounds, but I'm saying the weight of it, like just having my beach stuff in it, it pulled me back because I was so thin. And I didn't even, all of this stuff has been clicking together where I told my mom, and I understand now why Dad didn't want me to go places by myself, because now that I see what I looked like, I mean, skin and bones, and so, and you also get to a point too, where you understand why people left you when you were in that state, because you aren't on their end. You're the one that's going through it. You're having to stay strong and fight and get through it. You don't have time to understand why those people walked away from you. I don't hold anything against anybody, because I'm not them. They had a different way of going through it than I did.
And also, it sounds awful, but sometimes you have to go through these horrible events to actually see who really and truly deserves a place in your life. Because I have a friend, gone through all the way through school with her, 13, 14 years of literally being inseparable best friends. And she was going through medical school at the time. And I said, I've got Lyme disease. Didn't believe it. It doesn't exist here. And literally within an hour or two, she defriended me off Facebook and has never spoken to me again. And I was just like, I've literally been your best friend for 14 years. She had a binge eating disorder, and I helped her through that. And I went to go and see her most weekends when she was in university, which was a 2.5-hour train journey for me. But I always made an effort to go and see her because I know she was going through a hard time. And yet when I was in my hour of need, just because it didn't fit the medical norms that she was taught, she just didn't want to know me. It was I was just making it up. It was all fake. And she didn't want to be associated with me.
When I first was diagnosed, I had someone ask me if I was really sick. I was like, I go, why, of all things, why would you pick Lyme disease? First of all, to fake. I mean, it's worse. It's people. We'll get into that more on this podcast about the true, what it's really like, the true hell of Lyme disease, because that's what it is. But to be asked that question, and then you start thinking in your mind, does everybody else think I'm faking it? Because when you're first diagnosed, you may not look sick, or maybe you're starting to look sick. But it's unless you look like you're dying, people don't take you seriously. Like you and I today, for example. But
also it's bad again, because you have people in the media who have actually scammed people and said that they've got cancer, they're dying, they've had fundraisers to raise all this money, and then it's been found out that they're actually perfectly well. And I think that people see these stories, and then it kind of sort of has a knock-on effect for us, because then they start doubting us and asking more questions because they've seen what happens in the news. So they kind of put two and two together and think, well, you look fine. What's actually going on here? And it only takes a couple of bad people to really sort of not brainwash, but you know what I mean, change the view and opinion of the society that has towards chronic illness. And that's the sad reality, and it shouldn't be that way, but it's just how the world is, and we feel like we have to fight for validation and also acceptance. And again, that we've got enough to fight. We shouldn't need to fight for that. Our loved ones should believe us and take us seriously and understand.
we shouldn't have to prove we're sick.
No, exactly.
Why do we have to prove we're sick? And there is also like, this is my thing that I notice is when someone comes out and they say they have cancer, everyone is very supportive. If has lost a spouse, they become a widower, everyone is very supportive. But I can tell you from like going through a divorce and then having a chronic illness come out like this, life-threatening, you really, like you said earlier, you really find out who your friends are and who truly loves you unconditionally, because there was people that I never thought would say or do the things that they did, and they did, and I'm not going to judge them for it, but herein lies where I always say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously we can put our roses on and we try to believe the best in people because that's who we are, but the universe will give us signs, and we've got to take notice of them and actually not ignore them and see them as the red flags that they are.
Yes. Well, Sophie, I know you have things that you have to get done today, and we could talk forever about this, and we will talk about this in the future. But this was just an introduction so you guys get to know Sophie and I and a little bit of our background, and just we kind of went in a wagon train circle about different topics and different things. But that's what this podcast is going to be about, because there's a lot of things that get on our nerves.
Yeah. And when we start talking, we never stop.
And that's why, like, we'll talk like this, or we'll talk on in Telegram or whatever. We'll send voice recordings and stuff, so it's like being on the phone, but it's not like when you have a lot to do or you're not feeling well, that works better. But this is fun too, because we get to see each other and interact in live time.
Yeah, and get the giggles.
Yes, have girl time. It's fun. So we plan on having seasons with this podcast. We're thinking we'll do 10 episodes a season.
Yes.
And how are our seasons going to go?
Sorry, what? I cut you off there.
How are our seasons going to go?
Well, I think we need like a break between for like a month or so, and then we'll do 10 episodes each time. So each series or seasons, however you want to say it, will be about 2.5 months long. So hopefully we can at least get sort of 2 seasons in a year, with maybe like one like half season a year. So hopefully there's going to be plenty of us for sure.
Yes, you'll be seeing us everywhere. We'll be on you. We're going to have our podcast on YouTube where you can watch and listen. And we're also going to put it on, it's Spotify now, but it's Anchor FM. So we'll have it where you can just listen to it if you're in the car, or if you want to watch and listen, then it'll be on YouTube as well. And then don't forget to follow us and like us on Instagram and Facebook at Nerve of Mind.